Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Kill Team Dead Silence, the first of the Tomb World expansions for Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team, which introduces two new elite teams to the fray in the form of some Space Wolves and some Tau. We get some stealth battle suits, the XV-26 team, and some Wolf Scouts. Brand new model kits for both, as well as cards, of course the dossier, and tokens, and a little bit of cardboard to do the, cardboard, a little bit of pads here to do a, I'm going to say, Catezifus Expedition Campaign Log, which is Dead Silence's stab at some campaign rules for Kill Team. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to do 3 videos today. I usually break down these Kill Team videos with the 2 Kill Teams themselves, give them their own separate highlight, and then talk about the expansion that comes in the dossier. And that's what we're doing for this first video. Kind of talk about the box set as a whole, the model builds, and then how the stuff went together, sort of like from the point of view of, could you make a whole team? Could you not make a whole team? You get this little guy right here, nice full color building list for making both the Space Marines and the Tau. And yeah, we're gonna go through and talk about the Space Marines first, because lo and behold, hey look, I built them. And man, they were on such a good run. They were on such a good run for being able to make everything that came into the team. This team is unique in that you get a wolf that you can't choose anything but the wolf. And then you don't even have to there's like no leader. Like you just pick whoever you want. You could take the pack leader if you want. A Fangbearer, a Frost Eye, a Gunner, a Trapmaster, a Skald, and a Hunter. Now, because there are 2, 4, 6, 7 different profiles in here to choose from, and only 5 Marines, 2 guys are getting left out. So from my point of view, I did not build the Hunter, I did build the Skald, I did build the Frost Eye, a Gunner, and a Fangbearer. I did not build the Trapmaster or the Hunter. Mostly because I was unable to. But I did some kit bashing, because kind of the mutually exclusive miniatures here, the Fangbearer and the Hunter, you can see it's the same body style. So when they give you instructions for building this guy, it's one or the other, right? That raised foot right there. Now, same thing goes for our Skald or, for our Frost Eye or our Pack Leader. You can't make both. It's one or the other. So because they're both the same kit, and I really wanted to have both, I just kit bashed. So I ended up making my Frost Eye not on the body he's supposed to come on, and then building my Pack Leader as standard. So you can see here, I basically did a little switcheroo, switched some parts up, and this guy's finished, but I'm still kind of work in progressing for the rest of them. And then vice versa with my Fangbearer, I built the Fangbearer kind of stock as he is in the box, using the kit. And the Gunner, I believe, who is it that I couldn't build on top of that? No, I built him standard. I built my Skald standard. I guess it's just the Trapmaster. Oh no, I used the Trapmaster's body to make the Frost Eye. That's why I couldn't make the Trapmaster. So I was able to build the Fangbearer, the Skald, the Gunner, and the Pack Leader. And because I wanted to make a Frost Eye, I didn't make the Trapmaster. So you can't make them all. And in fact, you can't even necessarily make ones that you would want to take while not taking other ones, because you can have any of them, any 6 of them. You really do need 2 boxes of this to make the kind of the options that you want to have overall. And vice versa with the Tau. Now the Tau have, oops, are they first? They are first, aren't they? That's why I was screwing that up. They have a similarly kind of like simple like list build. You have a Shaz variety that you have to take. You can either have a burst cannon or a fusion blaster. And then a marker drone and a gun drone, which you always have. So it's one build. So these 3 models, with the exception of his gun swaps, are always going to be the same. And then you can take 4 out of 5 options. So the Designator, the Infiltrator, the Liberator, the Lodestar, and the Neutralizer are all basically, you know, your variations. The Lodestar has the homing beacon. I think I'd probably always make him. The Infiltrator, Neutralizer, Designator, and Liberator, they're the specialists. This guy's kind of like the standard Infiltrator guy. So that dude is the one you drop, and then you can make them all. So if you're not making like the standard fighter, you get a lot more mileage out of this battlesuit team, and you could kind of always count one of them as the Infiltrator if you wanted to, because he's just a standard guy with a standard gun. So apart from gun swaps, you get a lot more mileage out of the Tau than you are out of the whatchamacallit, the Space Marines. So let's talk about what this book is trying to do now. And this is the first time we haven't gotten terrain in a long time. I was a little bit disappointed by that because I just kind of expected it now at this point. The Tomb World box was so cool and so easy to build and went together so well. I was excited to see like what terrain piece was going to get added to it. So I was a little bummed that we didn't get any. It feels like they replaced whatever the terrain was going to be with this instead, which is your map to explore that keeps track of your threat level, and then your campaign log for playing a campaign. I was really excited. Oh, sorry, and you also get cards. I should have mentioned that. You get cards and decals. You get the card. This is pretty standard at this point. You get all your cards for your team, and you get your decals to put on them as well. Done. But yeah, I didn't get any terrain. Instead, you get a campaign system. So let's talk about that. The mission pack, the campaign pack, section 4. It's designed to be played on anything. So that's the first thing. This box is not tied to the Tomb World box set. Obviously, all the art is in reference to it. It's the most recent thing to come out. They're kind of pushing this as being like a Tomb World expansion. You do not have to play Tomb World games to play the Sisyphus Expedition. It is a map-based system used alongside your Games of Kill team. Unlike most traditional campaign systems, it's designed so that players can take part regardless of whether their opponent is participating in the campaign. So basically, I could play this solo, and every kill team game I play would just count towards the campaign, whether my opponent was playing that or not. Sure, okay. So then why am I doing it? But anyway, it involves exploring unknown locations on the hex maps. You're trying to explore this guy right here and find out what's in the region. You'll have to manage resources and make decisions to achieve your chosen objectives. The campaign links your games together, provided consequence for them, and allow you to build your own narrative for your kill team as they conduct expeditions into Ctesiphus 7. A Ctesiphus exposition, this is the worst word, requires a campaign map. You have to have this. There are different types of map. The ones with the fewer hexes should be used for 2 to 3 players. So basically, use this many hexes if it's smaller, add these, and then add the ones outside of it. So like, oh no, sorry, they're all different. Never mind. It's a different map every time. Anyway, start on the outside one. Information is recorded on the maps to ensure it's accurate for all players involved. If multiple players are taking part in the campaign, it's recommended that one player takes responsibility for keeping it up to date. And then you've got the surface, the tomb, and blocked. So it is taking place in like the area of a tomb world, but it could be above or below ground. The location is what the hex contains and its impact on the campaign. The condition is what the circumstances apply to the hex and the additional rules it provides for your kill team battle. And the hex number, it keeps track of the campaign log to identify the hex and keep track of its rules, such as kill team's location during the campaign. The flag can be marked whether the kill team has a base camp or a hex on this hex or not. So if it has a flag filled in, that means you have a base camp there. Blocked hex can't be explored. If the kill team in a hex becomes blocked, it must move out of that. So this is like a collapsed area. This is a tomb, and this is the surface of the actual planet. It also has a threat level meter. The threat level is used to keep track of the campaign's length. Normally it moves up by 1. So basically, because you're playing kill team, the war hasn't started yet. If the threat level gets too high, the war actually breaks out and you're no longer like able to operate, basically, because like it's a full pitch battle. And before the campaign begins, all players roll off to establish an order, and then each player selects a different surface hex to become the base hex for that order. It must be more than 2 hexes from each other player's base hex. In the location and condition section of the hex, write the player's name and their kill team respectively. Base hexes cannot be explored. Enemy kill teams can move into an opponent's base hex, but a player's base hex will always remain theirs unless otherwise specified. Each player keeps a campaign log, and that's his other booklet. You start with 10 supply points and 0 campaign points, and your kill team's base hex is their starting hex. This information will change as the campaign progresses, so record it with a pencil or digitally, and campaign points determine your success in the campaign, so you see objectives later, and will increase as it goes along. Establish priority. The player with the least campaign points goes first, then the player with the least supply points, then you roll off. So whoever's like doing the worst gets to go first, typically in most things. So then movement phase. Move your kill team around the hex map. Battle phase. Play a game of kill team against any opponent and earn campaign or supply points. Action phase. Spend your supply points on campaign actions. And then the threat phase. Raise the threat level once it reaches the maximum the campaign ends, because war is declared. All right, so you can do multiple things in the movement phase. You can either maneuver, regroup, or hold. So you can stay in your current hex if you hold. Regroup is move your kill team to your nearest base or camp, sorry. If it's already in one, move it to the next nearest. If any, if two or more are equally close, choose which one. Note that it doesn't cost any supply points to do this. And then finally, maneuver. Move your kill team up to 3 hexes, then subtract 1 from your supply points for each hex you move. So basically, it costs you supply to like get in your dropship and move around, or ride your motorcycle somewhere, or whatever it ends up being. Your kill team cannot move through a blocked hex and cannot finish the move on a hex that already contains 2 kill teams. If it finishes the move in an unexplored hex, explore it. That's on page 58. So when you explore something, you actually look up the number of what it is, and then you'll roll. So if you're in a surface location, you roll the D3 plus D6 to see what it's going to be. And then if you're in so that's if you're in a surface location. So like, let's say you get, here's some D6s. D3 and a D6. So that would be 2, 4. So 24 asteroid impact. Rapid estimates of the broad canyon suggest it was based on an impact crater. Its blasted surface riven with huge fractures. Whenever their kill team is in this hex, the players cannot perform the resupply action. Whenever it's performing movement, it costs 1 additional supply point to move to a surface hex from this hex. It costs 1 less supply point to move to a tomb hex from this hex. In other words, a kill team can move to it for free because there's like an entrance inside of it or whatever. So you'll basically discover what's in a hex when you move into it. That's only when you finish your move. And then the battle phase, if each player plays a game of kill team using the condition rules for its hex, if both players are in the same hex, use that hex's condition. Otherwise, use the condition rules from the hex containing the kill team of the player that doesn't have initiative during setup. If the condition being used is from a tomb hex, we recommend playing in a tomb kill zone. Otherwise, we recommend any other kill zone like Volcus. So players are free to play a game against whoever they wish, whenever they take part in a campaign or a person not even taking part in the expedition. In the latter case, the use of the condition rules is at the player's discretion, but gain campaign or supply points normally is described below. So basically, you're not going to enforce the fact that you're playing with the campaign rules and the person you're playing kill team with, but you can just count it for the campaign. Each player gains points as determined in the game its results. If you win, you get a campaign point. If you draw or lose, get a supply point instead. If one player would miss out on a game due to the number of players, another can play an extra game against them so they don't miss out. However, the other player can't get any points and nothing really happens to them. If it isn't a convenient option, then the odd player can be given a bye and they gain 2 supply points instead. And then the action phase. One at a time, each player can perform 1 campaign action after their game. Each game has a supply point cost, and then you get the effects of that action. And you start with priority. So you got Scout, 1 to 3 supply points. Select 1 unexplored hex with the number of hexes your kill team equal to the number of supply points you spend and explore it. So you don't move, but you do like a recce around you to see what's nearby. Resupply, it costs you nothing. Gain a number of supply points depending on the hex your kill team's on. If you're on your base, you get 10. If you're in one of your camps, you get D3 plus 3. On a block hex, you get nothing. Any other hex, you gain 1. Search, resolve the search rule, if any, of your hex and the hex your kill team's in. And camp, so you create a base camp. The cost is the number of hexes to your nearest base or camp. So the further you are from home, the more it costs you to set up a camp. And the effect is gain a camp in your hex that you're in. You can't have more than 2 camps at once, but you can remove one of your camps whenever you perform this action. You cannot perform this action if the hex is blocked or contains an opponent's base or camp. And then demolish. Remove an opponent's camp and the hex your kill team is in. You cannot perform this action unless you won a game against the challenged opponent. So you can demolish their camp and break it down. And then finally, the threat phase. Resolve all location rules that take place in the threat phase. So if you've got some later on, based on your exploration and stuff like that. And then unless the solo or cooperative campaign, raise the threat level by 1. If it reaches its maximum, the campaign ends. Determine the maximum based on basically like before the campaign begins. But 7 is a good average, means you play 7 games. If you're playing solo and cooperative, threat works differently, and we'll talk about that on the other side over here. And then objectives. When it ends, it's basically who wins or loses. The person with the most campaign points, if you're a warlord, wins. The pioneer, most supply points spent. Explorer, the most hexes explored. Trooper, the most games played. Warrior, the most games won. Headhunter, the most enemy operatives incapacitated. Operatives with 5 or less wounds count as 0. 6 to 10s count as 1. And 11 or more count as 2 operatives. And if the players are tied on an award, use the following in priority to see what you have. Either most campaign points, most games won, most supply points, and most hexes explored. So you want to keep track of all of those things. And then all of those titles basically will be awarded kind of like stars in Mario Party. And then whoever has the most stars at the end is the winner of the campaign. So you're not trying to accomplish one campaign thing, you're trying to manage all of them. And the aggregate kind of is the one who will be the person that wins the most. A bit like Mario Party. It's Kill Team Mario Party, basically. And then the solo and cooperative campaign, you get like your NPO battles as opposed to a normal battle. And then your threat goes up basically to 10 and the campaign ends. And don't raise it automatically by 1. Instead, whenever you explore a tomb hex, unless it's done as a scout action, roll a 4+ on a 4+ that's raised by 1. Whenever you finish a battle, roll a d6 on a 3+ if you won, on a 5+ if you lost or drew, raised by 1. Whenever you perform the search campaign action, roll a d6 on a 5+ it goes up by 1 unless you spend a supply point. Whenever you perform the search campaign action in the Doomsday Vault, or the demolish campaign action in the Power Cell Sanctum location, I know that's not recommended, raise it by d3, so you start blowing things up. Whenever you perform the resupply campaign action, you can lower the threat level by 1 to a minimum of d3 if your kill team is in your base or camp hex. You cannot lower the threat level in this way more than 3 times per campaign, so choose wisely. And then objectives are going to be Pioneer, number of supply points spent, Explorer, number of hexes explored, Trooper, number of games played, Warrior, number 1, and then Headhunter is the same as before. And then basically, you're trying to get 10 or more campaign points based upon achieving things. So whatever the threat level is at the end is the number of campaign points you have to score. So if you get to threat level 10 and you haven't scored 10 campaign points, then you don't win the campaign and you've failed. And so we got all our locations to try and find through, and the story basically narratively comes out through these. When you're in a tomb, you might find like an energy hotspot, a revivification system, and they'll give you things to do. So if you camp there at the start of each threat phase, roll a d3 on a 2+, again, number of supply points equal to the result. The Doomsday Vault, there's a Catan in there for sure. When this hex is explored, roll 1d3 to determine how many additional supply points it costs to search. Select 1 tomb hex, immediately perform a demolish campaign action on that hex, but it doesn't cost any additional supply points. The hex becomes blocked, you gain 1 campaign point because you let the Catan out, you just don't go back. And you get all your different conditions to look through, and that'll be based on, again, the numbers that are in here. All the different maps are available, and that's it. So, what do I think about this campaign system? I'm of 2 minds. I really like the procedurally generated different kinds of maps. Like, I like that it's not going to be the same each time, and every time you explore it, it might be a little bit different. That's great. The fact that all of these sheets aren't the same is really, really nice, because it means that you're going to get a different blend of the type of game that you get every time you go through it and play. So story will be different. It'll come out different. There's tons of different things to explore and results that you can get. That's wonderful. It's just a competitive system though, because it's just a resource management system against a clock. I don't care about my guys anymore. They don't carry their wounds through. They never have an adventure. The miniatures matter. And when you're playing a game of Kill Team where the camera is dialed in so close to the characters, the miniatures matter, their wounds matter, their stories matter, their names matter. You want the characters in a movie to matter. They are just blank slates still. You'll never get your heroic young blood in Mordheim who manages to save the day by defeating a vampire while your leader is knocked down in front of him. You know what I mean? Like, there's no like, the story is happening to nobody. So it's cool there's a story, but my imagination is, there's no consequences to how I play my games. There's no consequences to the action I take during my games, so the action matters less. I'm just sending kind of limitless pawns into a meat grinder to discover the story. You know what I mean? I'm just pushing into new areas to like see what happens. It feels like poking things with a stick. But the people that it's happening to, I'd have to like make myself care about that. The rules aren't doing anything to make me care about that, if that makes sense. So, neat. I like that I have a Tomb World to explore. I think that's fun and I can incorporate it into any game. That's cool. I'm waiting for the next box now to see if that's when I start to care about my guys, the things that I've spent hours building and painting. Because I want that to be the point of Kill Team. The story's cool. It's like they're waiting to make us care about the guys. They could have done that first. Like, I inserted a very simple, just carry my wounds over and maybe I lose my equipment consequence system to my campaign games. It's one page. But it means that like there's some tension at the beginning of the game now for my Death Watch. I'm going to take these Space Wolves through the Typhon campaign, also using Dead Silence, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. You know what I mean? Like the idea here is that like this feels like part of it. This feels like part of a campaign system, like pulled out neatly, you know what I mean? Whereas I'd like a full campaign system. Like this is just the bean counting after the game, where like I know where my base is, but I don't know what happened to my guys. I don't know who they are. I don't know their names. I don't know if they lived or died. So I only care about a story if the people in the story are worth caring about. And right now the people in the story aren't worth caring about as much as discovering the story is, if that makes sense. It's a bunch of set with no actors on it. So yeah, I hope that's coming next. It's just a weird order to release these things in. This feels like it should have come out after a campaign system with some like just damage tracking or experience or like wins, like big wins. Like I don't care about like supply points. It's a little bit like the original campaign system in Warcry, where it's like, oh, you've leveled up your glory enough now that you got a reroll, and it's like now you're cool because you have a reroll. I don't care about a reroll. I want to find a piece of broken glass with a face screaming in it that tells me the whispers of the future that gives me a reroll. You know, like that matters. That's more interesting. So yeah, I'm a little let down by this one, if I'm being honest. The kill teams are cool, and we'll talk about that in the next two videos. But the actual like dossier and the campaign system, it's functionally really clean and good. It just doesn't, it gives me stuff for them to do. It doesn't make me care about who they are. And that's not a campaign system to me yet for this scope of game. This feels like a better campaign system for 40K than for Kill Team, if that makes sense. And you could just as easily port this over into 40K. This is a map-based 40K style campaign. It doesn't really fit Kill Team the way that I would imagine Kill Team campaign rules would fit Kill Team, you know, like, and it wouldn't take much. Just make me care about my guys more and what happened to them after the game and did they like live or die? Not, you know, did they move base camp and get some supply points? It's just too abstract. So there it is. We're on to the next video. We're going to check out the Tau Fire Warrior Kill Team. So you can click on links and go check it out. Thanks for watching. Workshop for sending this along. Thanks, Tom Ash.